You are listening to the So Now What podcast with Lana Manikowski, episode number 181. So now what? These three words raced through my mind time and time again during my journey through fertility treatments. I tried desperately to have a child, but never was able. I yearned for a community to join that could understand my struggles. I couldn't find one, so I created one with the So Now What podcast. I love that you found us. Hi, beauty. Hope you're having a good week. If you're looking at me on YouTube and you see this brown fluff on my lap and in the camera, it is my baby. It is my baby Coco. She had surgery last Wednesday. Nothing major. She actually just was due for a routine dental exam and cleaning, which she had a beautiful exam, no cavities. Jack was very excited about this. If you don't know, my husband is a dentist and is obsessed with oral healthcare. Everything turned out perfect, but since she was going under anesthesia, she just had this growth on her side that was benign. And we decided, since she was asleep, we would get it taken out. And girl, let me tell you, it has been quite the adventure. You might hear her whining through this, even though she's sitting in my lap and we're figuring it out. But anyway, that's what's going on here. Also, reminder, my class about the things people say when you're childless is coming up on August the 26th. I'm going to put a link to it here in the show notes. So make sure that you register so you don't miss out. Talking about all the things that people say when you're childless and these unsolicited comments and this advice that we are constantly given, how to process it. How to not feel as though you need to be on the defensive when somebody asks, have you thought about adopting? Or somebody tells you about their friend's cousin, sister who went through years of fertility and randomly got pregnant after going through IVF, all this stuff that is constantly handed to us and you don't know how to respond to. This class is going to be your answer to how to navigate these things and feel grounded and feel in control of your emotions. So again, link to it is in the show notes. Make sure you register and I hope to see you there. So this week, I want to talk to you about something that comes up all the time with my clients. Something that honestly, I wrestled with for a long time too. Legacy, okay? When you're childless after infertility or childless not by choice, legacy can feel like something that just vanished out of your life because you probably have thought that your legacy comes from your children, how they grew up, what they do, what they look like, if they have your eyes, your hands. And when that didn't happen and the children that you wanted so badly didn't come, the dream of motherhood didn't happen, you might have started to believe that your story is just dormant now. It just doesn't go anywhere now, that your story and your legacy ends with you. So this week, I want to take you on a little journey challenging that, to release that capsule that you have created, not because you're doing anything wrong, but because we just always thought your legacy is just this automatic thing that comes to you when you're a mother. If you're a regular listener of the podcast, if you've been following me for a while, you probably know that my episodes, I do very much from the heart. They are things that come up for me, things that I'm experiencing in my own life. Sometimes it's things that I'm working on when I'm working with a client. So this episode about legacy is coming to you because yesterday would have been my grandfather's 118th birthday. He died, I want to say it was about 6. I don't remember. I mean, I have vignettes of memories with him, but I don't remember a ton about personal conversations or things about him that I remember personally. It's not things that I've learned about him firsthand, but it's this relationship that I have built about him and through him and with him on stories that have been handed down to me that I've heard over the years. So my father was born and raised in Serbia. I am the first generation on his side. My mother's family and our heritage is also Serbian. I am third generation on my mother's side. And my grandfather, again, when we talk about legacy, like what is he known for? When people talk about my grandfather, what I hear is that he was a lawyer who gave his time and his heart to help other immigrants find their footing in the United States. He did a lot of this work for our Serbian people pro bono, not because people asked him to, not because it would earn him recognition, because that was just who he was. He was very much a philanthropic person. He loved to help people. He loved to instill knowledge and freedoms to people that didn't have them. We went to church yesterday. That was like my request from my mom to go to church and go to the cemetery. And we did that as a family. And I was listening to the things that she said when we were at his gravesite and reflecting about, what legacy is, these things that my mom said about him. And people always tell me when they find out I'm his granddaughter, I often think like he probably wasn't doing those things to craft a legacy. Like for him, that was who he was. He was living his life. He wasn't documenting everything in a journal in the hopes that somebody would find out about him later. He wasn't organizing photo albums or leaving instructions on what stories to tell. Lived in a way that reflected who he was. Kind, smart, service-generated, full of integrity. To me, that is what stuck. That is the legacy that I've heard about other people tell me, but that's what I think of. And it's because of how he lived when he was living, not about who he is 6 feet under. It's like people think that, legacy is something that only comes once you're gone. But what people don't realize, most of us, we're not printing photos these days. I haven't put together a photo album in years. And the idea that somebody is going to stumble across a perfectly labeled photo box and tell our stories in the way that we hope for, it's probably not going to happen. So I want you to stop waiting for someone to remember you and stop waiting for someone to know and tell your story. Consider that you have the ability, and frankly, in my idea, in the way that I see things, the necessity to start living your legacy today, because that is what it is. Your legacy is how you show up in your own life. And I looked up the definition of what a legacy is. This is the Oxford Dictionary. It defines legacy as the long-lasting impact on a person's life. Not a person's child, not a person's title, not what people post about you after you're gone, just the impact of your life. And another definition I read, it says, a legacy is more than what you leave behind. It's the story of your life. It's the values you uphold, the impact you make on others. It's about the memories that you create and the relationships that you nurture and the positive changes you inspire in yourself and those around you. So let's pause here. When you hear me say that, does it make you feel a certain way? Does it make you panic? When you think about legacy, after hearing me share what I just shared, what goes on for you? Because what I'm sharing today is to not make you feel like you're missing out or that you're left behind because you don't have children, but to help you realize that you have already started building your legacy. And you might not realize it yet. So here's what I'm going to say, something that might be hard to hear, and I say this to you with the most loving intention. You have to get off your ass and start living again. You have got to stop sitting around hoping your life is just going to magically feel meaningful again someday. Because as much as we wish it hadn't turned out without children, it didn't. And this moment right now can be the one where you decide to move forward. And people think that this just works itself out, that over time, you're just going to magically fall back in love with your life. even though it doesn't have the children that you dreamed of. And that's why I do this work. And that's why I created this podcast. That is why I wrote my book. That is why I coach women who, like you, are childless after years of fertility treatments, because there is no roadmap for how to live a childless life that still feels good, that still feels on purpose, that feels like this legacy is going to be abundant. I realize not everybody is built to really want this desire to have a connected life to themselves and to their future without children. And that is okay. That is not something for me to judge for you, but the women that I work with and the women that have chosen to work with me as their life coach, they are women that are ready to get back into the saddle of their life. And they are ready to figure out what life can be like, even though it turned out so differently, because you get to decide what you stand for. So let's look at this. Let's bring this into real life and look at your week ahead. Look at your to-do list. Are the things on that list reflecting the legacy you want to live into? Are you showing up in a way that feels aligned with the woman that you want to become, or the woman that you already are becoming? Not the woman that you thought you would be, but the woman that you are, because you are allowed to build a life that lights you up. You're allowed to wake up proud of how you spend your time, even if no one else comments or notices it. And I think that is something a lot of people are waiting for other people to notice what they're doing, how they are showing up in somebody else's life. Your legacy is not something that someone else will piece together later. Your legacy is what you are living into now. So this week, I want you to take one step, say yes to one thing that feels aligned with who you are becoming, and start one new habit, or let go of one thing that no longer reflects a life that you want to live, because your legacy is not on hold. It's unfolding every time you choose to show up in your life. And there are so many moments where you are doing things. I know it. I hear about it. You message me, you tell me things that are going on in your life that are so beautiful and so unique to you. You are this person living and breathing around us each day and already creating your legacy. So I hope this helps to maybe give a different perspective about legacy. If you want to learn more about my class on August 26th, just a reminder, check the show notes to sign up for my masterclass. It is my first free class I have taught in over 6 months. And most of all, I hope you have a beautiful week. I love you, and remember that it's never too late to discover your meaning. I'll talk to you next week.
Hey, real quick, I just wanted to tell you about an awesome resource I created. If you have ever found yourself in conversations with people, or maybe people offering you suggestions about what you should do to become a mom, it's called the Top 27 Things People Say When You're Childless and How to Respond. You can get your copy free at lanamanikowski.com/things people say.